position, you know, I'm just like a nuisance, you know. Like they kind of kept it like that. Like, okay, well he's doing good now, but what if he fucks up, you know? Then we already have him in electronics, so that's why they kept me hard lines. And then when I went there, they knew about it, because when they introduced me to BJ and Keith, they were like, "This is Dobry. He's working cashier, but we always schedule him hard lines. He's in electronics. He does yes sir." Like they were like, he pretty much does everything. Like and then they were like, "Oh, that's good. We need that." And then and then here's the thing, biggest thing. I hope both of y'all get this. Biggest thing. I kind of learned this from growing up with my grandparents, and the fact that I used to ride a lot of buses. You never, ever, this is why I don't judge people, this is why I already been offered a security job 3 or 4 times. I turned it down based on this one thing. Never judge a person. Ever. I don't give a fuck if you went to law school. Don't judge a person. People that I met on the bus, I would see them, these niggas had businesses. They just happened to want to ride the bus or anything like that. So when I first met DJ, she trained at my store as a seasonal cashier. And there's always, people always think there's a beef between regular team members and seasonal. Like, like me, I could have been like, oh, I just transferred here, so don't try to think that we're close because I barely been here, you barely been here, we're not gonna connect. No, that shit doesn't happen with me. Nor do I be like, oh, you're seasonal, you're gonna be gone in 2 months, so why know who you are? No. BJ used to work cashier with me. Like we had cashier shifts often, and she saw that how much stuff that I was always doing. Like cleaning the hand baskets and doing carts and all that. Getting red cards, all kind of stuff. And she would ask me questions. I would answer. She was working, and then all of a sudden she left. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe she was just seasonal. So then when I came back and met Keith and BJ, I saw her and she said, oh, I remembered Dobry. She remembered the great vibes. After that, I didn't even really have to speak, but I still wanted to talk to Keith just so he could hear from my point of view of who I was and, what I could do at that target. And, after the 4th day, they scheduled me in hard lines 3 times. Because I started the day before all the new people. Yeah. So, I got to see everything because it was on a Monday where everybody was supposed to start, but I started on a Sunday. And then plus I was the only one who came from my store besides Wallace and Sandra, who were already over there. Yeah. So, I was able to work hard lines that day, and then I worked a couple days after that. And I think I did Sunday, Monday, I was off Tuesday, and then I did Wednesday, and then I think I was off Thursday again. It was a real short schedule, but Ken's there on Fridays. Yeah. So by Friday he heard of me, and then they pulled me aside and they were like, this guy named Ken, he really wants you in electronics, and I'm like, I'm cool with that. And then they already switched my position over. It was pretty cool. Yep. Because now, you've seen my house, nigga. Electronics are everywhere. Like,
exactly.
My electricity bill comes, I just look at it like, that's pretty much what I thought it was gonna be. We pulled the games out, 103 fucking games, in CDs. Movies are the same, keyboard, all kind of shit. So, but what I used to do, I used to be like a PlayStation tech support. Like, I didn't work for Sony. I didn't work, I didn't work for a tech support company. People just knew that I did my homework on systems and knew how to install shit because I grew up as the oldest. So if we got some electronics in our house, I was the one who had to figure out how to do it, Yeah. So I figured out how to set up games myself, how to connect Bluetooth and internet and all kind of. I had to figure that shit out. So me knowing that as from like a young kid, when I grew up, I was doing this. So I used to have people, I would literally stand right in front of my TV on my PlayStation, on the phone with I would have my phone in my pocket with the mic in, and I would be talking to them on the mic. Plus I would have my headset on, I'm like, well, if your phone goes out or anything, you can contact me on the headset. And I would walk people through how to do different shit on their games. Yeah. So that's how I got the name Dobry Tech Support. Then my cousin calls me after me and him not talking. Yeah, it wasn't anything, bad between us. Shit just came up. We were both working, getting our shit right. But he finally calls me, and the first thing he asked me, and it was weird because it was like a few days after I had got like the list of games that are coming out for the next 2 years, and he calls me. It's like midnight, so it's not bad. I'm up, I'm just in the room watching TV, and he calls me. My list is in the living room. So he calls me, he's asking me, he's like, oh, what good games are coming out for PlayStation? So, I'm like, oh, let me go check, no, hey, how you doing? How's everything been? I wasn't even expecting it. I was like, yeah, let me tell you. Went and grabbed my list. I'm standing in my kitchen just reading them all off. And then I'm like, we talked for a minute, and then something came up. He's like, I gotta go. So then he calls me again at like 2 in the morning. And then, we're still talking about it. I'm like telling them the developers of the game and all the software and stuff like that. And, who made it, how's it gonna be, And then, so he was like, yeah, something else. It wasn't the same thing, but something else that came up. And then so he hung up again. I finally get ready to lay down. It's like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. He calls me again, and then we're talking and shit. And he finally asked. He was like, yeah, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good, man. Like, how are you? And that's when we finally had our like personal talk. And then he was like, I'm gonna be honest with you. He was like, I'm kind of faded, and I'm like, well, things happen, I'm gonna get mad at you for drinking. You're a grown man, You probably had a hard day at work or whatever you want to do. I'm not gonna ask because I don't like to pry on people's emotions,
Yeah.
That's shit that other men should not do to other men, Like if you need some time to break down, I'm not gonna be on the phone trying to like fucking Jedi space hug, I'm gonna give you some encouraging words so you won't think about that shit,
Yeah.
Like I learned that from my grandma. Like I was like being the oldest, I always had to keep that composure, I couldn't show signs of emotion and signs of sadness because my little brother and my little sister would look up to me and they're thinking like, oh, that's our hero and shit. So this was in 2003 when my great grandmother died, and when I was there, like I tried to hold up, and then but I was by the casket because it was like the ones where you had the seats like right by, so like her closest people, and then we had my family on the front row. So I was there, and like everyone's crying, like my mom's crying, So like that kind of shit was getting to me because I didn't like to see sadness in other people. Like that's what gets me at funerals is when I think about how everyone else is now affected,
Yeah.
Like death is unexpected, sure, but when that shit starts to affect people, that shit gets to me, and I'm like, fuck, like I feel for the person more than the person who's gone, because the person who's gone, I'm happy,
Yeah.
It's like you're at peace now. That's what everybody is fighting. That's our finish line,
Yeah.
We can't keep that in the back of our head, like, oh, I'm not gonna die. I'll do whatever I want, and then once I get sick, I'm gonna try to live right. No, you gotta always live right, and keep a positive head on. But it's like things like that. So when I'm seeing everyone cry, it got to me. Like I didn't like bawl out crying, but it was just like I got like teary eyed. Tears start coming down and shit. And then as I'm looking in that same row, I look towards the end, and my grandmother, she has her shades on, and she's like crying, because that was her mom,
Yeah.
And that's not some shit I'm ready to go through,
No.
ever. Like I don't know if I'll ever be ready. So so I see her, and she's like patting her eye, but then she just looks at me, and then she smiles. And then that shit just fucking like erased everything, Like
Yeah.
I felt like this is your mom. Like that was the closest person to you, and you're smiling. So obviously there's a happy side to this. So since then I just been like uplifted about that shit, like, and just trying to bring people through it, because that would be like a real emotional thing for me. Like if I had to go through that with my mom, like I would be fucking pissed. Like that's my number one emotion is to get pissed. So that's why I try not to be emotional. So I'm like,
no,
yeah,
good. Like,
because like growing up, I had to bottle a lot of shit up. A lot of shit that I went through. I just had to hold that shit in because I didn't have an older brother. I didn't have people that were my age or people that was going through the shit I was going through to talk to it about. It was just me. So going through that shit, I'm like, fuck. Like I knew that I had to hold this shit. So hold shit like that. So like, if that shit got to it to where it was my mom, my nigga, I would probably be pissed. So I would definitely. I mean, I do keep a good relationship with my mom. Like we talk. Not as much as we can, but we do talk often. And that's mainly my fault for that shit with a lot of my family. But yeah, it's like if I keep that positive relationship, and I know my mom is happy. Like I can say that a billion times. Like my mom has always been headstrong to keep her head up, no matter what she goes through, Because even like signs of her sadness, that shit would spark anger with me. Like, if it was anything, like if it was a man that pissed her off, fuck that nigga. Like that, it was nothing that dude could tell me. that I would be like, oh, okay, you know, I understand. Fuck no. You piss my mom off, that's it. Like, fuck you, straight up. Like, that, you know, like, that's, no matter what age I was. Like, my stepdad could tell you, I didn't like him because when I was like 3 years old, I saw I'm pretty sure this was what happened, you know. I remember my dad in court, you know. I'm just a little kid, but, you know, the eyes, they don't age. So you see everything, you remember everything. So, I remember seeing my dad getting locked up, you know. Well, not locked up, he was coming out to the court, and I remember seeing him, like, in handcuffs, you know. 3-year-old, I'm not understanding what's happening, you know. Yeah. So I see him, but I still remember his voice, like, clear as day. He was like, you're the man now. I want you to take care of your mom and take care of the house. And shit, that when I heard that, it was like, that's it, like, that's what I gotta do. So when I saw this dude, 4 years old, nigga, automatically, I'm like, fuck this guy. Who is this nigga? Like, so I'm like, I'm the man, this nigga's the man, fuck you. Who the fuck are you? Like, that was my mindset as a 4-year-old. Mad ass nigga in some overalls. So immediately I threw a fucking toy at his ass. Bow! Let him know, I'm here, nigga. What's happening? Like, but, I mean, me and my stepdad, we got a real close relationship, but we bumped heads a lot. Because, you know, my man's side, and, you know, him being the parent, you know, we had to. Shit had to happen, you know? So, but I just thank God for all these people, you know? Like, I really wish there was, like, a way that I could keep everyone closer together, you know? That's like, I don't know. My father-in-law might say it's a Sagittarius thing, but because he enjoys a full house, you know? Yeah. Bunch of people around and everything. And, I mean, I enjoy the same shit, too. I used to be known, like, me and my cousin Esco, we rolled everywhere together, like, nigga, if it was the store, like, I always rode with something or with somebody. Like, if I went to the grocery store, nigga, I'm in the backseat spinning my skateboard around. Like, I always had something with me. But me and Esco, we rolled fucking everywhere together. If it was some place where it was close enough we didn't have to drive, or like, nigga, pull the skateboards out, we'll roll. And we used to go all kind of places and shit. So, and including, like, back and forth to each other's house. He would come out to my house, I would drive up to his house. And, you know, we would just spend time together and just everywhere. Like, that nigga was in school, I would just sit at the house, fucking do the stretch warm-ups on the Wii. Because, like, he went to school, but since he was in the valley, it wasn't, like, too long. Yeah. So he would go, like, I would get up around, like, 12, you know, make some breakfast and shit. But I was just sitting there stretching or, you know, playing games on my phone or just on the internet, you know, getting my iPod ready because I knew we were going to have a skate session. He would get home, this nigga would take a nap. He's like, wake me up in, like, 30 minutes. I'm like, all right. So in that time, you know, I would get dressed and get ready and shit. And then wake him up, you know, we go skate, have a good-ass skate session till, like, the nighttime, get some Jack in the Box or whatever, get some fast food. After, like, driving around, skating around, doing all kind of shit all fucking day, we would come in, eat some food, fucking relax, watch some Netflix, and be out. And that was, like, our daily thing. Because since we were younger, we always had a daily thing. Like, I like to compare us to, like, the Rocket Power kids. We would wake up, activities, nigga. It was like the extreme YMCA. Soon as we got up, because his house, like, my house was on one side, his house was on the other side, but it was like a straight path, and it was open, like an open apartment. So I would stand on the edge, he would stand by his stairs, I would stand on the edge of my curb. We looked at each other, niggas just went out and did shit. We did fighting, nigga, we had skates, bikes, fucking scooters, skateboards, nigga, we did all kind of shit all day. Plus we went swimming, like, we would do all that shit to get hot, go swimming. We, you know, we'd go back to our houses, take our showers, come back out, we'd probably play out for a little bit, and then we'd go play a video game in somebody's house, you know, like, we weren't those kids who, we had video games, but we didn't spend our whole fucking day playing it. We're like, nigga, it's daytime, let's go shit to do, we ain't got a job, we ain't got shit to do. So, we would go out and just have fun all fucking day, and then when it got, like, close to night, you know, like, when the sun was going down, or when it was starting to, the weather was starting to cool off and shit, you know, we would, just go play video games. My grandma would make us brownies, or I would make some cookies at my house, or, you know, we always had something to eat, plus play video games. And then that's what we did some nights when it was like the weekends and shit, and we didn't have to go to school or whatever. We would spend a night at one another's house, but then other than that, we just kept that shit real cool. And I think that about wraps this chapter up. Yeah. I'll be sure to try to tag everybody in this who was mentioned. I mean, of course, I'm not going to watch the footage. I mean, I might a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But, yeah. Thanks, guys. All right.
Where to go?